back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and the fate of DC Studios, Batman, Superman, James Gunn's plans, your streaming budget, and whether there is a movie theater where you live, all just got disrupted by this week's news of Netflix winning the bidding war to buy Warner Brothers and its film and TV properties. This deal is still in the very early regulatory phases, and there are various forces at play trying to block or limit this acquisition, but there are a lot of questions around things like, will Netflix allow movies like DC Studios' Man of Tomorrow or The Batman Part 2 to release in movie theaters for longer than a month, considering Netflix's past business model has been direct-to-streaming releases or at most very short theatrical windows? Could other DC titles like Sergeant Rock or Wonder Woman go directly to Netflix without any marketing, the way most Netflix movies just rely on you to discover them on the homepage? What does this mean for your bottom line? And what does it mean for the broader state of the film industry? And how difficult could it become for you to see a big movie on a big screen in your hometown? We did a live stream to answer all of these questions with myself and others from the New Rockstars team, and we did this also to update viewers in real time on announcements that were happening from CCXP in Brazil about titles like Marvel's Wonder Man, Daredevil Born Again Season 2, Paradise Season 2, Percy Jackson Season 2, The Handmaid's Tale spin-off, The Testaments, and all the goofball shit Timothée Chalamet did on stage. So what you will now see is our full, lively conversation that got pretty testy when it came to the ethics of Netflix's business model. Enjoy! Welcome back to New Rockstars. We are live streaming today on the New Rockstars channel because the past 48 hours have seen potentially the most important shift in the world of movies and shows. Netflix has won the bidding war to purchase Warner Brothers, which will have an impact on DC Studios and James Gunn's plans for Batman and Superman titles, how much streaming is really part of your lives, how you will consume stuff like Harry Potter, whether Universal's epic universe could expand into a Gotham City or a metropolis, and whether we could all be facing a future where we rarely go to see movies in theaters ever again. So in addition to talking about Netflix and Warner Brothers today, we're also covering all the updates about The Boys and Disney Plus shows, other Hulu shows from CCXP that's happening in Sao Paulo, Brazil. It's really like the Brazilian Comic-Con, and a lot of information is coming out right now. So we're covering that as it breaks for you here on the New Rockstars channel. We may also get to this announcement of an Avengers Endgame re-release coming in September 2026, what that could reveal for Avengers Doomsday. I'm Eric Voss, and joining me on the panel today, we have Zack Huddleston.
Hey, yo! I've been learning Portuguese for at least the last 20 minutes, so I'm ready to live translate.
Also with us is Gina Ippolito.
I've spoken fluent Portuguese since I was a baby, so...
Oh, okay, good.
And Abby Friel.
Hola? No.
Sure.
I think hola is a Portuguese hello.
Oh, okay, great.
This is the team who works here at New Rockstars. Also here in the room with us, Jessica Clemens is doing research for us. Jessica, can we hear you? Hola, she
That's
said.
a distant hola. Yeah.
In the chat, we have Berg. Hola!
Hola there.
He may also be popping on camera today.
Yes.
We also have Patty on the chat.
Yes.
Yeah. So we really have a lot of us here.
And producer Brian manning the boards, doing the Lord's work there. Yes.
And we got Woo for Brian. So yeah, this is a lot of us here at New Rockstars. Abby does a lot of our editing. You may have seen her on the Break Room channel. Gina is a writer and producer of a lot of our stuff. All of our Welcome to Dairy videos, Gina has been writing those. Zack, our general manager,
Mostly
from the Break Room.
Refrigerator repair,
Yeah.
toilet unclogging is my primary duties here.
Happens
yeah.
a lot around here.
Yeah. I both clog and unclog. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, at least you clean up your own messes, Zack. So we also are people who have worked in this industry outside of New Rockstars in all types of capacities. Gina is a member of the Writers Guild. Zack has worked on things like House MD. Abby, you've worked at other places before New Rockstars,
Yes,
right?
I have. I used to be in the trailer world, so
Yes.
post-production, marketing stuff.
Yeah, and there are other people who've worked at like other outlets who are like, "Whoa, you guys got Abby Friel working at New Rockstars, awesome!" So like,
Oh, superstar.
yeah, you've seen her work in plenty of places outside of New Rockstars. So we all have a lot of thoughts and experience and expertise on this Netflix Warner Brothers deal and what it means for you. You may have seen a lot of chatter about like what this means for the industry, and we are concerned with like how that's going to affect your day-to-day viewing habits, how much you're spending on streaming, and we really want to like translate this and break it down for like what it really means for your life. You can ask us questions here in the live chat. We ask you to be respectful because we understand this is a very charged topic. So that's why we have Patty and Berg who are in there who are helping moderate that discussion. And we ask you all just just to be respectful. You know, we don't do live streams that often on New Rockstars. So we understand with as many subscribers that we have 1,000 people who are joining us in our live stream right
welcome,
now.
everybody.
And you may subscribe to New Rockstars, maybe you don't. If you're new here, be respectful because we will bounce you. We will 86 you faster than Zaslav was cashing the checks on this deal.
Berg's from the East Coast. He'll slap you down.
That's right. And shout out to everybody in the chat with the little Thanos gauntlet next to their name. Those are YouTube New Rockstars channel members.
Oh.
We appreciate you and your membership. And anybody who's not one of those could join and immediately get that little Thanos gauntlet.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you do send us super chats, we will try to prioritize, but we're also going to just try to answer any questions we see coming through this stream. So here's what's going on here. Warner Brothers announced earlier this year that they were putting up the studio for sale, the studio and all of its incorporated divisions. David Zaslav, CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, has been aiming to do this for years. This isn't a shock or surprise. All of his weird decisions that he's done in charge of this company have all been geared to this. Acquiring, merging Discovery networks with all this have just been to try to gild the lily and to try to make it more valuable for someone to come buy it, someone like Paramount Skydance or Netflix or someone else. So the top bidders when this was announced were Paramount Skydance. That's the company of David Ellison and his daddy, Larry Ellison, founder of Oracle. And they just recently finished their merger with CBS and Paramount. So he owned Skydance. They merged it with Paramount, that owns all of CBS and everything. That happened last summer. Another bidder was Netflix, the biggest streamer, the winner of the streaming wars. Another bidder was Comcast, the company of Universal and NBC. And then there were also in the mix some Middle Eastern financiers from countries like Saudi Arabia and Abu Dhabi and Qatar who could really put their money behind any of the players.
And some of
here.
those sovereign wealth funds were attached to the bids by Paramount, Skydance, and stuff like that. So, yeah.
So throughout this process, Warner Brothers has been leaning towards Netflix, warming towards Netflix. You saw things like David Zaslav and Ted Sarandos going to a Rangers game together. They're chummy, those two.
And a UFC event as well.
Oh, yeah.
They're just attending all the live sports.
Yeah. Paramount Skydance, they're kind of chummy with the current White House administration, some may say. And that's why the current administration's FCC supported this merger that happened in July, even though a division of this, South Park, went after the current administration really hard on the day that happened. It didn't matter. They're that chummy. They are that friendly with each other. But when this was starting to close, Paramount Skydance earlier this week sent a letter from their lawyers questioning Netflix being a little too biased towards Warner Brothers being too biased towards Netflix. Well then, late on December 5th, in the early hours of the morning, it was leaked that Netflix has won this bidding war. And then Netflix in the morning said they are moving forward with this acquisition. Ted Sarandos and Netflix's leadership did a media town hall and an employee town hall where they were answering some questions. And here's what we know about it. The deal is reportedly for around $72 billion, maybe something more than that. That's just shy of what Disney bought Fox for in 2018. And the deal includes Warner Brothers Discovery's studio. That includes DC Studios, New Line, Warner Brothers Animation Group, as well as their streaming platform, HBO Max, and all the IP that's associated with that. That includes everything DC, not just the current DC Studios, but past eras of DC that Warner Brothers still has a distribution license to. Everything Harry Potter, the upcoming Harry Potter streaming series that's going to be on HBO Max now, that's going to be potentially part of Netflix. And then sections of Lord of the Rings, the original films, the Hobbit films, not the Amazon show. That's a separate deal. It does not include Discovery Networks, all the linear cable channels, all the WWE deals that are part of that. That is all being spun off separately. That's not part of what Netflix is acquiring. Ted Sarandos claims that he wants to try to maintain Warner Brothers releasing films theatrically. This has been the big rub in the past. Netflix is a streaming company. He has said in the past that theatrical distribution is not our model. He doesn't care about AMC and Regal and Cinemark and Alamo Drafthouse and all these other places putting movies. They want people to watch movies in their homes. But he is now changing his tune, saying that he still wants to maintain Warner Brothers' ability to do that, but he wants to shorten the window. That means rather than waiting several months to put something on a streaming platform, he wants to wait maybe 3 weeks to do that. Which people who run and work in these chains are like, well, then are people really going to go see movies at an AMC, or are they just going to wait for it to come out?
We'll come back to that, Eric. There's a lot to talk about there.
Big rub there. really also what we're seeing is that, a lot of people internally at Netflix and other companies are saying, ugh, anytime this happens, big media mergers and acquisitions, it's not a good thing. You have the AOL Time Warner merge. You have AT&T's merger with Warner that just happened.
This same studio has been bought and sold. This is the third time in like a dozen years.
Yeah.
Right?
And it leads to job losses. It leads to just dumb, confusing things like all the constant rebranding of the HBO streaming app.
Also just bad transition periods where people are unable to make decisions because well, it's lame duck. We're about to be bought. It takes a year for all the bills to cash and whatever. There's a lot to talk about there. Like, you can make an argument over this period. Now, Paramount would have something to say about this. The Warner Brothers has been the most mismanaged studio in all of Hollywood because of all these transitions and problems, right? Yeah.
But you know what? That's not going to happen on Netflix's watch, guys, because you know what? Teddy Sarandi says that...
Your personal friend.
Yeah, he is a personal friend. I bumped shoulders with him at an event this past week, and he acted like he knew me, but that's kind of why... That's just what happens. But Netflix does understand, they do understand the assets that they are acquiring, unlike a company like AT&T who makes telephones. Netflix is in the entertainment business and understands the IP they're acquiring, and they acknowledge fully that they're going to try their best to learn the lessons from past mistakes when it comes to things like this. Do they understand theatrical distribution? Do they give a fuck about theatrical distribution? And that's to be discussed.
Dropping F's on live. Here we go, folks. That's how you know. That's how you know it's real.
But they did want to reassure the media and their employees that they used this phrase of everyone in the media is kind of getting on them for saying, they didn't want to stand still. They don't want to be standing still. They want to rest on their laurels. So something like acquiring a big company like Warner Brothers is kind of their flex. And they even say that we're going to do a better job distributing Warner Brothers IP than Warner Brothers has done. That's to be seen. But they say for now, they want to keep HBO Max as a separate brand from Netflix. So they say for now, you will still see HBO Max you can subscribe to or Netflix you can subscribe to. They're not merging them yet. Sources are also claiming that James Gunn and Peter Safran, the two people running DC Studios, that they're going to keep their jobs in place. Reportedly, David Zaslav is going to keep his job too.
And that's what we all care the most about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Finally, good things happen to good people.
A lot of people are worried about this, messaging James Gunn on Threads, and they said, James Gunn, tell me everything will be okay. And James Gunn responded saying, everything will be better than all right. I don't know if he was responding to the Netflix news or just saying hey, you stay happy. He has also made comments supporting theatrical distribution. Christopher Nolan, who's head of the Directors Guild of America, plans to meet with Netflix soon to discuss the importance of theatrical distribution. James Gunn parted ways with Warner Brothers in the past years after Tenet to take Oppenheimer to Universal and the Odysseys at Universal over this issue.
Project Popcorn, which released all those movies during COVID, day and date, on the streaming service and in theaters.
Directors like Christopher Nolan, Denis Villeneuve, hate streaming. James Cameron has mixed feelings about streaming, but this whole idea of releasing day and date on streaming is really dividing the creators in Hollywood right now. Specifically, the Ellisons also, for their part, money boys, are unhappy over at Paramount Skydance over this, and their allies on the political right in America are saying that this is going to be too much of a merger and acquisition. They're going to try to block Netflix's purchase with things like regulation, the regulatory process, which is going to be part of this anyway. Regulatory process is always part of this, but they're signaling that they might use antitrust legislation to try to block it. But it is pretty hypocritical because they're just trying to do this to give it back to their boys over at Paramount Skydance. But there's also word that Paramount Skydance is planning a hostile takeover by offering Warner Brothers shareholders a better deal. Go back to Succession Season 2 for more information on what hostile takeover is. But basically, they just go directly to the shareholders and say, we're going to give you a better bang for your buck. Vote on us. And that's called a hostile takeover because really Zaslav is bound to the shareholders to try to take the best deal possible. And then the Writers Guild of America and various other labor unions are issuing statements decrying this deal as just something ultimately bad for the industry at large, as it would mean fewer jobs, less pay for creatives, fewer places where you can shop your project to. So Gina can give us more information on that. But I've been talking for a long time just to try to give the information. How are you guys feeling about this? How did you react to this news this week?
I am still considering filling my pockets with rocks and walking into the ocean.
How do you really feel?
Just for fun. Just for fun.
And your concern is?
So the past 10 years have not been great for the industry, due in large part to Netflix, who sort of took a system that had worked historically since the advent of cinema and disrupted it, and which basically means like messed it up. And this is their next attempt to mess it up even more. So a deal like this benefits the top 1% of people. It benefits the CEOs, it benefits the shareholders. The people it does not benefit are any of the creatives, any crew members, any writers, any below the line workers, that's like makeup artists, that's crew, that's anyone who's doing anything on a set, who, contrary to popular belief, none of these people are wealthy. A majority of the WGA membership, a majority of SAG's membership, and a majority of DGA's membership are very middle class. Like, they are not Angelina Jolie or Robert Downey Jr. raking in millions. That is again, that's the top 1% of earners in an industry made up of sort of working class people. And they are going to get screwed by this no matter what. Because when you merge companies, like, this is why there are antitrust laws. The more companies you merge, the less competition there is. The fewer places there are to sell shows, the fewer shows that are ultimately made, and the more control that these sort of upper 1% are given, then that means that they can put the screws to creatives and say, like, normally in the past, we'd pay you X amount of dollars for a show, but we're your only option in town now, so we're going to just have that, like, regardless. So they're weakening unions' like bargaining power at a time when the industry is already not doing great from COVID and from AI and from a series of other things. So this is not going to be good for anyone except for very wealthy people, including you, the audience.
Well, yeah, I might make a counter argument there, but I hear you on that, Gina. Yeah.
Today's video is sponsored by Straight Arrow News. I'm an information junkie. When I read the news, I'm basically looking for the rabbit holes within rabbit holes I can scurry down to try to figure out what's actually going on. In the past few years, it's gotten harder to parse apart the actual news sites and journalists from the rantings and ravings of anybody with a social media account. It's very chaotic out there, unless you're using Straight Arrow News. Straight Arrow News gives you clarity, not chaos. It allows you to get a more complete picture from the news you read and better understand what's going on. Their reporting is unbiased, highlighting both left and right-leaning stories and delivering reliable news coverage on events across all sides of the aisle for a full picture of current events so you can get facts, not fluff. Straight Arrow News is a free app and website, so you don't need to deal with a paywall to get your news. That's great. News should be free. Go to san.com/newrockstars to check it out. You can visit through the link in the description. When you visit, you not only support us, you're also supporting a group of journalists who are raising the bar on news by delivering news without bias, filter, or spin. Welcome back to Trustworthy Journalism.
I think any kind of merger and acquisition of this size, whether it was Netflix or Paramount Skydance, would have the same negative result for most people in the world.
And people have used Fox and Disney merging as an example, right? Like, Disney swallowed up Fox, and now there are fewer total releases, both film and TV, from a combined studio than there were previously from two studios.
And look, like, the thing is, like, audiences love when Disney bought Fox. Like, a lot of people were like, yes, like, oh, we can get X-Men in our and like, yes, that's awesome. It's awesome when when your two beloved properties can come together. Throw Mickey Mouse in the X-Men universe. I don't know, maybe he's a mutant. Who knows? But when you have fewer and fewer creative people making those shows that you want to see, that's when sort of you get these complaints of like, why isn't there anything good on TV? And why is it this? And why is it that? And it's because they took control away from the creatives and gave it to like tech bros and billionaires. And that's when you get crappy stuff.
Couldn't you make, though, the counter argument? Netflix, kind of all the studios currently being run by tech bros and billionaires, or at least tech bros, right? Like, they fancy themselves a tech company more so than like a traditional Hollywood studio, right? Like, that informs a lot of their ethos. By and large, no offense to anybody that works at Netflix or anybody who's related to somebody that works at Netflix, right? Is anybody making an argument for the film? Let's just start with the film output of Netflix over the last 10 years being great. Could maybe the influx of Warner Brothers executives, talent connections, like, if instead of the Electric State and the Gray Man and all the other slop that the Russo brothers put out, if we were getting Weapons and Sinners and DC films on Netflix, whether they have it taking away this theatrical question, which we can get into as well, wouldn't that be a net gain, certainly for Netflix, and maybe for the hundreds of millions of people that subscribe to Netflix?
Yeah, well, I think like let's take Frankenstein as an example, which I would say was great. I saw it in the WGA theater during its sort of like very, very brief like window where Guillermo del Toro was like, please go see this in a theater. And like Netflix had snipers trained on him, ready to shoot him. That got made because Guillermo del Toro is sort of a big star, and Netflix has recently lost a lot of high profile creators and directors over this theatricality, argument. Like arguably the Duffer Brothers sort of parted ways with Netflix because they wanted to go and make movies that would then be put in theaters, or at least they wanted that option. So with Guillermo del Toro, they had to carve out a special deal that said like, look, we will give you, like, we know you're Guillermo del Toro. Everything you touch is basically gold. Like, we'll give you a special deal. But only people like Guillermo del Toro have that power. And even he didn't have enough power to make it a 3-month window.
Wouldn't the counter argument, clearly, if it was that important to him and he could make it at a number that would be profitable, Disney would have made that movie, Universal would have made that movie, Sony would have made that movie. Netflix was the only one willing to cut him that check. Right? So it is like, I think what a lot of this, the argument around this, and like whatever side you fall on, will come down to, right? Like Netflix unquestionably has been incredibly financially successful, right? Like even before this deal, they had won the streaming war, right? They have way more subscribers by a significant margin. And like they were the first company to make streaming profitable, and their streaming is way more profitable than even the companies that have eked to profitability there. Part of that is because they're not tied to these legacy things like cable TV and whatever, right? So, but like the thing holding them back is talent. And now you could argue that that's their own fault because they refuse to commit to theatrical releases. But if the other models were working so great, nobody would need to go to Netflix. Right?
But the thing is, Netflix created this own problem because Netflix is mostly responsible for the fact that we now have shorter shows, that shows that used to be 22 episodes and would run like clockwork and would release every year, which again worked for years and made everyone involved, not just the upper 1%, a lot of money, and gave audiences shows that they wanted to see, like Friends or Seinfeld. Netflix then broke that model. Netflix went in and almost single-handedly said, no, we're not doing this anymore. We're going to give you 8 episodes or 10 episodes. And then it made it harder for people to break into the industry and stay in the industry. So they broke that system. And now they are one of the reasons that there are fewer places to go and sell things. So they basically broke it and then said like, well, if you want to sell your movie, you have to come to us because there are only so many options. And like, I talk about this a lot in my Witching Hour videos, which are mostly like 80s based. There were so many smaller studios back then. You had studios like New Line Cinema, who now has been absorbed by Warner Brothers, which will soon be absorbed by Netflix. So you could, if you had a project that got passed over and passed over and passed over, you could still go down the line. And a lot of the times, like a great movie would eventually get made by one of these studios, right? Like the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise notoriously like got passed on by a bunch of studios. Gremlins. I mean, there are even if you look at a Stranger Things, which was passed over and passed over and passed over and passed over, like it's not just as simple as Guillermo del Toro has a movie and he's going to go to Disney and get the exact right deal that he wants. Like anything will get passed on or given not so great a deal. But basically Netflix came in, broke the model and said, ooh, the model's broken. We're the solution. So they took a crap on a lawn and then paid you to clean it up.
But also, that toothpaste is out of the tube, right, Gina? The internet exists, streaming video exists.
And it wasn't, I mean, Netflix did break it. They disrupted it. They were the Uber of the film industry that kind of ruined everything. But they did it just by being successful. And I would say equally culpable here are the others who failed to compete. Our Disney, ABC, our Warner, our Universal, our Sony, and they didn't build a good model. They had Hulu right there and could have competed with Netflix.
If Warner hadn't screwed the pooch over the last 10 years, they wouldn't need to sell themselves, period. Right? Like, this is a company that released the Minecraft movie, Sinners, Weapons, Superman all this year, all of that not enough to make this a sustainable business operation, right?
I
the
actually
studio that
disagree,
made
though.
Friends and The Big Bang Theory, right? And
Yeah.
Sopranos and The Wire and everything else, and yet they're still broke as hell.
But I disagree that it's not sustainable. I think that it is sustainable. It's just not showing constant growth, which is what Wall Street and tech bros want. For years, it was, hey, we're making a profit. This is good. This is fine. We're making enough to pay everyone, to keep our shareholders happy, and to make a profit. But the tech bro mentality, the Wall Street mentality, is that you can't just sustain, you have to show constant growth. And in an industry that's based off of subscriptions, in a world where there are only so many people, that is impossible. At some point, you get to the late stages of capitalism where you have no more consumers. So it is sustainable. Warner Brothers is still doing extremely well. Like it's not that every year Warner Brothers is showing losses. They don't show losses. They're showing profits. They're just not showing more and more and more profits in a model that is not designed to show more and more and more profits.
Yeah. Abby, what is your thinking on this? As someone who has to, you watch all this stuff, you work on all this stuff.
I mean, it just feels like overall, even like taking movies out of it, we're like moving closer and closer to like the alien Earth world of like, just like, there's going to be like 3 companies and they run it. Like you have Disney over here, you have Netflix over here, and then they're going to be taking over like everything, not even movies and TV.
Yeah.
It's just content. The amount of time I've heard the term content, probably double the amount of time I've heard television or film, and it's because television and film are the physical distribution method and what these things are broadcasted on. And I think Netflix wants us to stop thinking of it that way.
And also, like, we should expand our scope. What are we doing right now? We're broadcasting on YouTube, right? Like, the real competitor for Warner Brothers is not Netflix. The real competitor for all of these studios is YouTube, is Twitch, is TikTok, right?
Yeah.
Like, is Fortnite, is our phones, right? Like, all these, the argument for these mergers, right, is that the entire model is antiquated. And like none of these companies are set up for success over the next 30 years, right? And if they don't merge, if they don't figure out a new sustainable model now that cable is dead, right? And streaming is still in the wild, wild west, right? Like none of them survive and we're all just watching TikToks in 3 years and there are no more theaters or television or anything else, right?
Which is exactly what Netflix wants. They want there to be no more. I mean, Netflix is basically like in the business of isolation, in my opinion, because they've said like we think the old theater model is antiquated. Only very recently have they sort of been like, well, like maybe you can go to the theater, but like what they want is that WALL-E future of just one person, one screen watching it, which is not sort of good, in my opinion, good for society's mental health.
I would say like, I would argue with that because like, I think they've shown and what they've said is like, now that they are at the top of the streaming mountain, right? For them to continue to grow, they have to expand their business. They're doing live experiences now. You have these Netflix houses in multiple cities, right? Like they would love to be able to do theme parks and merchandise more and all these things that other studios have had more success with, right? And they see this as a way to tap into that, right?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's like the trickle down economics like of it. Like, does it work? Like they're saying like, we need to get bigger so we can like sort of then expand and it's good for everyone. But really in the history of society, giant mergers have not been good for anything.
But then shouldn't you be rooting for this? If like this could be the way to kill Netflix?
I mean, that's the thing.
It works so well for
like,
AOL.
We are in the late stage capitalist economy. We've been in it for 30 years. I mean, as soon as Netflix and Warner and all these companies became publicly traded, it's like, the toothpaste is out of the tube. And we should be like recognizing how bad that is for consumers. And we should be talking to our elected leaders to be regulating things like this. But like ultimately at the end of the day, like we can't expect David Zaslav to not like listen to his shareholders. We can make fun of him for how many millions of dollars he's going to make off of this deal.
The richest clown in the entire circus, David Zaslav. Here's what I will say. One stakeholder group we are not voicing is the consumer. You know why Netflix is so popular? Because tons and tons of people not only subscribe to it, but watch a shit ton of Netflix, right? Also, we as a consumer group here in North America, I can only speak for this country, right? Like, you can go on Canopy, you can go on a lot of free streaming services, and you can consume all manner of indie film and foreign film and stuff like that. We don't, at near the volume, we choose to pay money to go watch Netflix, right? Anybody watching this is at least within an hour or two drive of going to an independent movie theater and watching something from Neon, something from A24, something from Mubi, right? Like all these independent studios. People are not doing that. They are voluntarily choosing not to do that.
Well,
right?
I would argue that, there was just a story put out that Tubi is one of the fastest growing streamers, and that is free, and people are watching a lot of content on Tubi. Also, re-releases of old movies have been doing great in theaters, which proves that people will still go to a theater. I mean, sure, like if you're going to re-release Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 1990, which I just went and saw in the theater, like that's not the same thing as making a new film and having people go out. But a lot of the issues that I've seen people talk about online about like, oh, this movie didn't do well, or like The Running Man wasn't that good, or this wasn't that good. Like they're ignoring the fact that it's because creators don't have as much control as they used to because of things like Netflix. So if you want better movies and if you want things like that, we should be pushing back against places like Netflix. I would also argue that society does a ton of stuff that's bad for them. We could all be eating healthy food, but we eat fast food. And I think that a lot of times society is the frog in the pot, not realizing it's being boiled. I think when people were signing up for Netflix DVDs like 20 years ago, they didn't think like, oh, this is what's going to lead to the death of the mid-career writer or the death of the mid-career actor. They just thought like, hey, this is awesome. I don't have to go out to my video store. Or don't have to go out to the Redbox. Remember Redbox? Like, Patty back there. I think that they didn't realize, oh, this is probably going to lead to monopoly after monopoly after monopoly. And also, the reason we're sort of in this mess, not to get too historical, is because of Ronald Reagan deregulating a lot of industries, which I realize I'm proving myself to be an old person who had a father who was a history teacher and covered exactly this type of stuff. But when Ronald Reagan deregulated a lot of things and allowed for mergers to happen that were for the past 100 years not allowed to happen, that's where a lot of these problems started. And you can regulate them again. I don't think the current administration will, but a future administration might.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of go back to 1987, the revoking of the Fairness Doctrine, 1996, the DCMA, all these things ultimately were so short-sighted, and it's often scary depending on whether you agree with the current occupant of the White House. For example, we don't want the Fairness Doctrine to be in place right now because the current, at least I don't, because the current administration would use that to fine and to publish and to censor places like ABC for things Jimmy Kimmel does. So it's a good thing in that case that the Fairness Doctrine is no longer in place, but it was a bad thing because it led to the rise of right-wing media, Rush Limbaugh, Fox News in the late 80s and early 90s. So yeah, it's kind of hard. And that's why I'm focused right now. I'm there's only so much we can do to rewind that clock. We are currently occupying this brave new world and this hellscape that we're in. And so that's why I'm just trying to win the fights we can in the places that we can. Yes. And fighting on the battle line of theatrical distribution window is currently the best option we have to maintain these things.
Do you mind if we do my thought experiment? Let's talk about the best case scenario.
Okay.
Okay. Right? What is the ultimate gain? And obviously we don't care about the shareholders or the executives of these companies. We're talking about for us, the consumers, the people living in these fandom worlds, right? What is the ultimate best case scenario for this merger, right? Netflix comes to their senses. And now that they own an old school Hollywood studio, they embrace more of that business model. Not only do the theatrical windows for Warner Brothers movies stay relatively similar to what they are, movies get to be in theaters for a couple months or at least 5-6 weeks. but that maybe more Netflix movies also embrace that window. They get to play in the major chains. Part of the problem with things like Frankenstein or Wake Up Dead Man or a lot of the Netflix films that have had very limited theatrical releases is AMC and Regal and the big chains will not play them because of their insistence on a short window. Even though Comcast, Universal, right, like they under 20, it's like a 20-day window until their movies are available for paid VOD, right? Like under 3 weeks between when Wicked is first released in theater and when you can buy it at home. The chains do not have a problem with that. It's because it's behind a pay window as opposed to free on Netflix.
Right.
But let's say that like, Netflix, rather than Netflix making Warner Brothers more like Netflix becomes more like Warner Brothers, right?
Yeah, agreed. I think also, I think that there will be creatives like Guillermo del Toro, like Rian Johnson, which I also saw Wake Up Dead Man in a theater, The Egyptian, which is Netflix's theater basically. But like there was a point, I'm not going to spoil anything, but there was a point where like half of the audience goes, oh! And I was like, and I started cackling because like it was a very like, if you watched any of the Knives Out movies, there's always a reveal. And I was like, yes, like that lady is over there like clutching her chest at this reveal now. And it was so delightful that if I had been watching it myself or even watching it with one or two friends, I wouldn't have gotten that experience. I think that, and there was a Q&A with Rian Johnson afterwards. And he was talking about the beauty of movie making and this and that. I think that more creatives like Rian Johnson, like Guillermo del Toro, will carve out deals with Netflix saying like, look, you're giving your Warner Brothers movies longer theatrical releases. You can have my movie on Netflix, for your streaming fees after, 5 or 6 weeks. I think best case scenario is that Netflix says like, oh, okay, we do see the benefit in theatrical releases, in physical media, and it sort of goes back to like, oh yeah, okay, like these, something like seeing Sinners in theaters or seeing, Weapons in theaters, you can't replicate that at home. Now that we're successful, we don't have to be as fearful as other streamers. So we will do that. I think that is best case scenario.
And as part of that too, right? Like there is a definite Netflix effect that like, the Suits revival is because Suits got put on Netflix, a show that had been around forever. Everybody had the opportunity to watch it on USA. And some people did, some people didn't. But like it shows up on Netflix, it blows up, right? Like you can see when you compare the charts, right? Like shows on Netflix have, a way larger audience than any other streamer and broadcast TV now, right? So it's like as much as like Sinners and Weapons were giant mega hits, the DC films will be big hits no matter what. Like they have the potential to reach even more people on the largest streaming service. Right.
Which arguably they could do that if they still had a 3-month normal theatrical window too.
And maybe that will force them to embrace that, right?
I feel like Netflix needs to make it like accessible though, because like even like Wake Up Dead Man and Frankenstein, like they need to have these deals with AMC and Regal because the normal person can't go to the Egyptian, can't go to their indie movie theater, or if it's even playing those. And so like hopefully in that best case scenario, like those Netflix originals can slide in with where Warner Brothers is releasing theirs.
And hopefully, like, I think best case scenario is they're forced to.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think we can trust Netflix to have a heart on this.
Right.
I think we have to hope and we have to demand that there is legislation like the Paramount Decree, which is more of an FCC decree, to require Netflix to make a deal with every major theater chain for a certain amount of time to release.
Right.
And you could say that there's like a certain number of movies per year. I think as part of this regulatory process, we, the public, have to demand that these agencies require Netflix to release 20, 30 Warner Brothers movies per year for a certain amount of time. That's the only way that like the average consumer will have access to them. Netflix is going to say, and we've had a lot of devil's advocate, Zack, so I'm just trying to balance this conversation.
Wait, I'm the only one fighting against that. No, but when you argue, actually, what is best for the consumer is if all these things go straight to streaming,
I
right?
was about to say that Netflix and Ted Sarandos are certainly going to say that. And I think we have to say that, like, well, what's also beneficial for communities is that, like, the local AMC, the local Alamo Drafthouse, and the people who work at these places have jobs. And have a living. But and if you say that, like, it's all going to go to people who work for Netflix, like, Netflix is not the largest employer. Like, there are more people working for AMC, Regal, and Cinemark combined than who are working for the Netflix Corporation and for Warner Brothers.
Totally. But also, like, then wouldn't the counter argument be, we'll put them both, and then the people that still get value from going to theaters will still pay to go to a theater, even if it's at home for free on a streaming service, or that consumers make the best choice for themselves in the moment.
Right? A frog in a boiling pot of water. You can't trust consumers to even know this technology.
It's expensive to go to the movie theater.
Well, I mean, but then that's an argument against the theatrical experience, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I would say though too that, like, you know, this is the season of Scrooge, like of Scrooge lessons, and no billionaire has ever been like, yeah, for the good of society, I will give up some of my vast fortune that I could live to 1,000 and never spend. They will always want to make more money and more money and more money. I don't even think they know why. But I would argue that, like, again, this is the argument of, like, fast food versus, you know, like, food that's making people healthier. This is Netflix is the fast food of the industry, but we are slowly taking away communal spaces. Theaters being one of them, public libraries, like, we're taking away public spaces where people used to gather and have a shared experience. And the pandemic made that much worse. And there's, like, a new study that just came out that said that Gen Alpha actually prefers to go to the movies without their phones, because when they go see things like Minecraft, that's like a communal experience that they, in their short lives, have not experienced. So sure, you could say, like, oh, older millennials know what it's like to go to a theater or watch streaming because we've sort of grown up with both of them. But a 7-year-old who only sees things on streaming isn't going to know what they've been missing out on, which is, again, a communal experience that can't be replicated at home.
I think I have a big counter argument that is topical to that right now. Five Nights at Freddy's 1, we're speaking on the weekend of the release of Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Five Nights at Freddy's 1 was released day and date. You could watch it for free on Peacock, or you could pay to go see it in the theater. $80 million worth of people paid to go see it in theater, right?
Sure.
Why can't that be true for all things?
Not every movie is a huge IP-based thing with pre-existing fans.
But then people have to, okay, speaking as someone who can't afford to go see nearly as many movies as I would like to, but I love the theatrical experience. Also, like, I am not a full-throated Netflix slop supporter, right? Like, it's my least favorite. We've got some Percy Jackson breaking news as soon as I make this very poignant and super important point, right? Like, ultimately, the consumer, as long as they're given options, and I'm not being an advocate for taking away consumer options, right? I don't want all the theaters to close or whatever, right? And I certainly want Netflix to release even more things theatrically, right? Like, consumers have to make the best choices. And when, like, every other bill you have and your rent and all the rest of society is conspiring to constrict your budget and your entertainment budget, right? Like, you can make an argument that the theatrical experience would be diminishing with or without Netflix right now, right? As, like, people's pockets are pinched. Now, I'm not saying then the answer is give them everything for free instead, but, like, I don't think there will never be a solution that, like, decreases consumer option that is a net gain.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that, like, if you look at something like smoking, which at some point was, you know, like, marketed by the tobacco industries as, like, hey, here's a cheap way to do everything you want to do. Here's a cheap way to lose weight. Here's a cheap way to, like, take breaks at work.
What's the metaphor for smoking in this?
Because at some point, the government stepped in and said, despite the fact that all these people love smoking, we can no longer just let them choose. They know that it's bad. It is bad and it is addictive. Now we have to start doing things like regulating smoking, regulating cigarettes,
but I think
warnings on cigarettes.
We're talking cancer, not young Sheldon.
You know what I mean?
Like,
Except the loneliness epidemic has been proven to be just as deadly as things like smoking.
It's exactly, that's why we have an FCC. It's why we've decided as a society that government should have a role in regulating the airwaves.
For the good of humanity.
Though this is not impacting airwaves.
Okay, but that's why we have the DCMA that established that other digital means of communication are also regulatable.
Sure. Again, though, like loneliness epidemic, you want to talk about that? Let's go after TikTok. And I think they already have, right? Like, we can argument, like, the problem is so much larger than this. To say that, like, Netflix contributes to everything because it's a giant company and it's very important in the entertainment industry, but, like, this merger existing or not existing, or Paramount getting it, or some Abu Dhabi wealth fund getting it, does not have any impact on the loneliness epidemic. And like, the theatrical experience will be incredibly challenged. They've got to figure their shit out. And we as a society have to figure out if like that is important to us and we want to support it financially.
But I disagree that it has no impact on I think that the difference is like, are we as a society going to roll over because the problem seems too large? Or are we as a society going to stand up and say like, hey, yes, there are a lot of major issues, and the solution is small incremental changes to get back to where we were in that pre-Reagan era when he started to deregulate things, allowing monopolies to grow larger and larger.
I mean,
I do have to jump in here and say, and I have to button this so that we move on. I'm sorry to be a dictator here. I'm happy to make an argument that that things like a binge drop and Netflix's business model has contributed to the loneliness epidemic in the way that they're distributing media, and the fact that they want people watching things in their homes instead of a crowded group in a theater at their local AMC, wherever it is. That does contribute to the loneliness epidemic. But I'm sorry to do that kind of thing, how I button it and move this on, but I'm doing it.
We're getting news. We're getting breaking news.
I'm landing this bird. Okay, so lots of stuff is being announced, but I do want to answer just some specific questions that you guys are asking, not about the philosophical and moral implications of this, but specifically.
Shout out to everybody that's clearly agreeing with me in the chat.
I mean, they might be actually. They might be crapping on me here.
It's a fraught issue. There is no one right answer or way of looking at this. And honestly, I don't want to act like I'm devaluing this conversation because I know it's important. It's why I wanted you guys all to be here. Specifically, James Gunn and Peter Safran control the DC studios. So far, it sounds like they will maintain control. And one thing that Netflix is good at is recognizing good creators and good producers of content and giving them as much control as they can. It's the distribution that's really at threat here. Will this cost more for subscribers to Netflix and HBO Max? Yes. Yes, it will.
It's going to.
You can make an argument not, right?
We know you're making that argument, Zack. It will cost more.
If Max becomes a tile on Netflix, right? And again, Max is my favorite streaming service. So like, I'm not advocating for it to go away. I think the quality of content on HBO is miles ahead of almost any other outlet, right? Like it would hurt me. But the idea that like, rather than paying $15 and $15, I can pay $20 for both, right? Pretty enticing for me.
But when you take away competition, prices never go down. Like that's just historically inaccurate. Like there's no in history, there has never been like, oh, now there's less competition, we'll pass that on to the consumer. The whole point of monopolies is so you can charge more money.
Yeah, they're requiring HBO to value up Netflix.
Yes, but also, I mean, to like, haven't all the streaming services been getting more expensive without offering us anything else?
Yes, but to get the shareholders to agree to this deal, you have to prove that it is going to put more money in their pocket. And that more money is coming from subscribers.
And me saying that it will raise prices is just me acknowledging the basic Adam Smith principles of supply and demand. Yeah. It will go up.
I mean, but they would go up even if they weren't buying.
Okay,
we'll all be paying more for Netflix in 5 years. At least if I'm paying more and I'm getting all of the HBO content.
I'm not saying whether it was going to go up either way. I'm going to say it will go up, and it's now certain to go up. Will Batman and Superman movies release on Netflix instead of in theaters? The best case scenario here is that they're in theaters for like at least a month.
Yes.
And the best case scenario is that AMC, Cinemark, and Regal don't go out of business in the next 2 years, so that wherever you live, whether it's in Knoxville, Toledo, Portland, or Albany, you can still go see a movie somewhere in your local market. But there's no guarantees now that will still be possible. Question, will other DC movies like Sergeant Rock, Wonder Woman movie, could those release directly to streaming with no marketing? Yeah, that is possible now.
Yeah,
because
that is a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, case by case, but specifically Guillermo del Toro's willing to make that deal. Greta Gerwig's willing to make that deal with Netflix. Rian Johnson's willing to make that deal. The only trailers you see for Wake Up Dead Man are going to be just specific things, but they're not putting the kind of marketing budget into these Netflix releases that Warner put into Weapons. Probably not going to happen. So I'm willing to say, like, maybe James Gunn will say, hey, maybe I can get a Sergeant Rock movie made that can stream on Netflix. but there will be no marketing for it other than Netflix's TUDUM event that they do.
Yeah, it's going to be a tit for tat thing. I guarantee you. I think if James Gunn wants to make a less popular movie than a Batman movie, he'll be like, all right, you let me make Batman at this budget, and then I'll give you this and release it on streaming.
So that is one upside. I'll admit there is one upside there that maybe James Gunn and Peter Safran had trouble justifying spending, I don't know, $80 million on a Sergeant Rock movie or something like that, because they would also have to pay all the marketing. Maybe now they can go to Papa Ted and say, hey, can we do this? And can we distribute it? And he's like, yeah, I'll give you the money for it. And we'll get someone from the cast of Ozark to be in it. And you know, because like...
Julia Garner?
Yeah, Julia Garner is now going to play Wonder Woman, confirmed. Like, I just think, like, you're going to see more things like that. And there is some kind of disruption. Sometimes you can see movies like Rebel Ridge get made that are smaller budgets, and you have certain creators who don't care as much about it releasing theatrically. My hope is that process doesn't do what it's already been doing and making it harder for people who aren't Christopher Nolan, but do want their movies to release theatrically. And we really have to make sure, because I don't always trust the unions. I don't trust DGA. I don't trust the WGA.
Well, they only have so much power. A lot of them are smaller unions too. It's not, I think people have it in their head that like the WGA or the DGA are these humongous unions, but their membership is very small compared to other unions.
Some people asking, will the Snyderverse resurrect now? I do not think so.
I don't think so.
A lot of people are like, well, Zack Snyder's done Army of the Dead. He's done these other things. He's done Rebel Moon on Netflix. Yeah, but as of recently, even though 2 years ago, Netflix's Dan Lin, who's been in charge of their theater division, or their movie division, not their theater division, said, yeah, go ahead with your LAPD movie. There's been 2 more recent projects that Dan Lin has canceled from Zack Snyder. And word on the street is Zack Snyder and Dan Lin are not chummy. And Dan Lin is not losing his job. Most of the people at Netflix are going to get bumps for this. So, like, I wouldn't expect Zack Snyder or to have any plans for, if anything, they're going to empower James Gunn and Peter Safran to give them their shot at it and not rock the boat there. So don't expect any kind of continuation of the DC EU or the Snyderverse. Jessica's in the other room going, God damn it! I wanted to see Darkseid's vision. And then we've also seen some reporting that Netflix might want to do similar deals that Warner Brothers has done to give Harry Potter over to Universal Parks. Yeah, maybe we do see an expansion to Epic Universe that allows you to visit Gotham City or the Metropolis that you saw Jimmy Olsen hooking up with people left and right in. Jimmy Olsen can walk around. He's going to be the Gaston of this, and he's going to flirt with you. We'll see. There's obviously, it's early. The regulatory process is so early, and there's even some theories out there that Netflix just went ahead with this knowing that it would get blocked by the Trump administration and all the regulators, just hoping to tie this up for the next 2 years. So that in those 2 years, they continue to do what they've done so well over the past 10, which is grow. And then by the time they've grown, they're going to get more Greta Gerwigs, more Guillermo del Toros, say sayonara, Duffer Brothers, and then not really care and still put these other theaters and theater companies on their heels. Mm-hmm. We'll see what this all means, but I don't believe that it was just they did this knowing it would fail. I don't think you're Ted Sarandos and go after this thinking, doing some kind of 4D chess. I think he wants Warner Brothers. I think he does. Mm-hmm. All right, we are hearing a lot from CCXP. So we want to give you guys the updates about CCXP. Specifically, they had a Disney Plus panel. They showed some footage for Daredevil Born Again Season 2, which is coming in March. We know that Jessica Jones is going to be back in it. Kingpin's talking about his plans. We didn't really hear further big information, but specifically, Jessica Jones is going to be back in this. There's more shots of Karen and Matt in their apartment together. There's also descriptions of the Wonder Man trailer, where this is all from Amaleche, the people who are hosting the event, where basically Simon Williams, told Mateen II, wants Trevor, who was from Iron Man 3 and Shang-Chi, meeting with this award-winning director to try to remake a famous superhero movie. Simon, though, it seems like a lot of it is like him trying to hide the fact that he has superpowers.
I think this is kind of the first confirmation we've gotten. It doesn't sound like they showed any necessarily new footage, but maybe it was ordered a little bit. We got a little bit more dialogue. We've seen the scene before in earlier trailers of him like kind of slamming his fists on the table and kind of shattering the table. This kind of shows that like there was some speculation Does he get those powers maybe later in the series? Does he already have them?
Yeah, anyone could shatter a table.
That's right. I've been known to do it right and left. But this kind of confirms that before he auditions, before the events of this series take place, he is already fully powered, right? He's trying to hide those powers.
Yeah. So the origin of his power is still a mystery. And then we got a quote here that we hear from Ben Kingsley saying, "You are not your condition. Your vocation is more important."
That's a very Trevor quote.
Your art is more important than your super strength.
Yeah. Between Daredevil Born Again, Wonder Man, and Vision Quest, which of these Marvel Disney Plus titles are you guys most excited for?
I'm letting Abby answer.
I'm excited for Vision Quest.
Yeah.
I feel like that it has the most promise. I mean, I'm also excited for Wonder Man. I think it feels so separated from everything right now. And I feel like Vision Quest will at least be a little bit of like feeling like old MCU times a little bit.
Tied into everything.
Yeah. And Daredevil is also very exciting, but it's kind of living in that little post-Netflix world of like, I don't know if the rest of Disney Plus / the MCU is taking it seriously.
Plus, like it feels like we just got a Daredevil.
Yeah.
So like it's not as fresh and new as like Vision Quest, because the last time we had, I mean, I guess you could argue Agatha All Along was sort of like in that vein, but like last time we had WandaVision was, I don't even know, 1987. What year is it?
Well, Agatha All Along, 2024.
Right. Yeah.
And Vision Quest, I think, of these titles has the best chance of recapturing even the derivative glow that Agatha was. That is such a dismissive of Agatha. I'm sorry. I loved Agatha all along. I'm just saying, from like a big picture perspective, WandaVision felt like a derivative show of just like, really going to make a MCU show out of this? And it ended up being one of the best things ever.
Yeah. And it feels like they're chasing that high that we all felt when we watched WandaVision, and we're like, oh my, this is delightful.
Yeah. And Agatha even felt that way too. A spinoff could be as wonderful and singular as Agatha was. So if they did that twice already with those first two predecessors, I feel like Terry Matalas can do just as good of a job.
Yes. I think there's I have reasons for optimism for all three of these live action shows. Like Wonder Man, I love an inside Hollywood kind of a story, right? The word is, I was a little disappointed by Daredevil Born Again Season 1. The word is, the second season's better. They've had the same creative team in place.
Right.
There wasn't the kind of behind-the-scenes drama that they had around the first season. So I'm very optimistic for that. And then for all the reasons we've already stated for Vision Quest. I also love a mystery-driven show. And it feels like that might be a big element of that.
Yeah, I'm excited about all three. I think I might be most excited about Wonder Man because I just love Yahya Abdul-Mateen. Watchmen was so good, and every time I see him in something, I'm like, damn, this guy is great. Even if he's in something that's not that good, you can't take your eyes off him. And I think this role is perfect for him to sort of be a little more showboaty than he's been given an opportunity to be in previous roles. So I'm excited to see him in this role specifically. I feel like there's not enough information about the plot for me to be like, ooh, end the plot. But him, I'm excited about.
Yeah. Doesn't it feel interesting that maybe this was always the case and 2021 was the aberration, but how even the conversation around Daredevil Born Again Season 2, Vision Quest, Wonder Man, it feels like such a smaller piece of the overall interest pie, in that we're currently in Stranger Things season, and the numbers we're seeing from Stranger Things from Netflix, and then the biggest headlines by the end of the day, by the way, are going to be for The Boys Season 5, Prime Video, what they've done with The Boys and Fallout Season 2. These shows are more at the center of people's hearts than I think any of these Marvel shows are. I just find that really interesting that Disney did have a chance to dominate the streaming war with titles like WandaVision and The Mandalorian. And due to just some mismanagement, or maybe they just got in too deep without really having the roots in place, that even Netflix with something like Stranger Things, where they've taken 9 years to finish the show, are still able to dominate the way that they are.
Yeah.
And Stranger Things isn't even the best show out there, but it's still as iconic and delivers enough of the goods that it's still...
Are you advocating for Netflix to buy Disney too?
I mean, what was it? BoJack Horseman made this joke years ago. They were like, Yahoo, Time Warner, AOL, they just would string a longer and longer list of what this one company was named throughout the entire series. And I love that was on Netflix.
Yeah, that's right.
Only by Pied Piper.
Other information about the Hulu end of it. Paradise Season 2 is coming February 23rd. The first 3 episodes of the second season are dropping on Hulu. And this is one thing that I love to see this, because it means a new season of a show every year.
Right.
Yeah.
Season 1 came out, and I really did enjoy it. A lot of people were like, why aren't you covering it? And I didn't have my shit enough together enough to really mobilize behind it. Hopefully we can cover Season 2. But man, end of world fiction. And what happens on that day when they finally reveal it in episode 7 in Season 1, hard for me to watch.
But it is like, it's also like an ambitious show. And anytime there are these like big ambitious shows that can release on a yearly schedule, like it does sort of prove that, you know, like, and I know that I've beat this drum a lot, but like the people that write Paradise are old school TV writers, like just like the people who write The Pit are old school TV writers. And it's not surprising that these are the shows that release every year. They tell you this is when season 1 is coming out, and then this is when season 2 are coming out. And the less experienced people are the ones that take 7 years between seasons. I could be talking about anyone.
And we're not always talking about the showrunners behind this. A lot of times it's like the TV exec assigned to that show.
TV exec, or like just the upper level writers. A lot of the people involved with Paradise are people who came from network TV and were used to like doing 22 episodes on a very like crazy deadline.
Can we shout out, because I see some things popping up in the chat just as we're talking about shows, and I know this is drifting away. We'll get back to like some of the CCXP news, but somebody asking, Jacob Beach 8010, will New Rockstars be covering Fallout Season 2?
Woo!
You better believe it, baby.
Yes,
Yeah,
we
we
will.
will.
Starting with the first episode of the second season on December 17th, you'll be able to see Jessica Clemens' amazing breakdown of that. John Costa is going to be helping her with some of the research on it, but man, the two of them know a lot about like the lore and the gameplay of Fallout New Vegas.
I think they're replaying it all right now.
Yeah. So we're really, really excited to be able to cover that for Season 2. You'll be able to see that, I think, week by week, even through the holidays. Hopefully we'll have a breakdown every Wednesday from December 17th through February 4th when the finale comes. Other comments, Sarah Chadorian, we always appreciate you joining our live streams. Joining, looking forward to the stream. Posted that during the looking or starting soon thing. The Heartman476 saying, judging the events of the past, I don't expect this merger to last. A quote, yes, I think it is possible. But in this case, Netflix is a serious contender. It'll just depend on whether the regulators let them. Christian Unpronounceable saying, please remember to give this stream a like. Let's support our favorite nerds. Hey, we really appreciate you,
Christian.
New member or past member for the past 2 months, a rewatcher tier, Jamie, JM Fugate, saying, I believe agreeing with Gina, saying exactly this only benefits the top 1%. Not good. And then a lot of people, Spongy, PNG, asking, hey guys, when will the boys panel start? That will start at 8 p.m. Or no. It'll start
3 p.m.
3 p.m. Pacific.
LA time. Yeah.
6 p.m. Eastern. Yes.
So we may not
There's a
still
little
be
bit of
streaming.
time difference between here and Brazil.
We may not still be streaming. Other information, though, we've learned about Hulu releases. Eben Moss Backrack was there to talk about The Bear, saying we can't reveal anything yet, but we can't wait for you to see the 5th season in 2026. Look at that!
Okay.
Another annual streaming series release. Now, they did binge drop season 5 or season 4, which I wasn't crazy about.
Yeah. But I mean, speaking of, like, that's a show that's been able to get a season out every year.
Yes.
Sometimes they're even like multiple seasons ahead by the time the Emmys happen,
Right,
and people are very confused which season is being rewarded by the Emmys.
What am I voting for?
Yeah.
Another Hulu release that's happening, a spinoff from The Handmaid's Tale called The Testament, starring Chase Infinity from one battle after another. The series follows young women in Gilead grappling with the bleak future that awaits them. It's coming this April on Hulu.
wow.
So speaking of end of world fiction.
I don't know. I can't deal with more bleak futures.
Yeah.
The Mothership Handmaid's Tale had wrapped up. They had their final season this year. Wildly popular, I believe. It was like one of the more popular Hulu shows this year.
Yeah.
And so
I
it
want to
makes
see
sense
them
that they were
celebrating, though. I want to see them. I thought they were celebrating, and I thought they were allowed to wear bikinis again now. I don't know what's going on.
Wait, that's what they were fighting for?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe a kind of a prequel series that's on like the takeover day.
Yeah.
somewhere
It's
else
a
in the country.
sequel.
It's a sequel.
It does
Okay,
say
then
so.
maybe it's like a spinoff. Maybe things don't get
You
fixed.
had that many seasons to fix society, and you didn't do it.
They did nothing. I guess we'll see. Will you guys be watching that show, The Testaments? I don't think I will see if my heart lets me.
The Testament sounds like
Daddy's saying she'll watch it.
3 other shows. That's a very generic title.
Yeah.
Handmaid's
It
Tale
could
is such
change also, maybe, between now and when it actually releases.
Another show that was announced at CCXP called The Beauty. It's a Ryan Murphy, Evan Peters team up. A trailer was released at CCXP. The description from Amaleche says the trailer for The Beauty is actually a commercial for the virus/drug in the plot, which transforms everyone into, quote, their best self. Kind of like The Substance.
That is very
Or
Ozempic.
Ozempic.
Models, that got Jessica laughing. Models are shown wearing pastel colors. They dance down the street while transforming an obese mailman, in his own words, an exhausted policewoman, an elderly couple. Everyone transforms into the runway supermodel.
Wow.
This is also an old episode of The Twilight Zone, by the way.
Yeah.
It also stars Anthony Ramos, Evan Peters, and Ashton Kutcher.
Ashton Kutcher, Anthony Ramos.
Kutch.
Wow, that's an interesting cast. Also, I have to assume because it's a Ryan Murphy joint that like things don't go well. Everybody becomes beautiful, and
how long
problems
until
ensue.
there's aliens?
Yeah.
and he gets bored with his own plot and makes it a totally different show.
Oh, that's
And do we know where that is coming out? Netflix? Hulu?
I assume he still has his overall deal at Netflix, but that's a good question. No, Netflix was not doing a panel there, so this must be Hulu.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe this is an FX thing.
He has had a couple
Yeah,
of
just like
release-
All's Fair, and the American Horror Story.
He did,
Yeah,
he
it's an
does.
FX Hulu.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Rebecca Hall is also in that. Isabella Rossellini.
Wow.
Oh, and Death Becomes Her. Kind of, I wonder if she's playing the same character
Which
from
is,
Death
I just
Becomes Her.
saw leaving Netflix soon, so watch Death Becomes Her before it goes away.
Support Netflix by watching Death Becomes
By
Her.
watching a not Netflix original.
right.
The Percy Jackson panel. If we're talking about Disney Plus's real moneymakers, at the panel they received a trident and Percy Jackson's bag.
They're really going all out. Did y'all see that billboard? That real water billboard?
Yeah, that
was crazy.
Looks
That's
awesome.
That was crazy.
It's a cool looking red trident, or maybe it's just
They gave these to everybody in attendance, basically?
Yeah. So the cast of Percy Jackson is on stage, and then I'm seeing some other stuff. Sorry, I'm reading it from.
They're still in the middle of it.
They're still in the middle
just
of it.
talking
Still in the middle
about
of
like,
it.
what the people can expect, but maybe there will be another trailer.
Oh.
This is just from the fans
that-
suspecting.
Maybe.
Is that audience going to get splashed?
I hope.
The panel currently taking place in Sao Paulo for Percy Jackson. This is season
2.
2.
Two.
This is also supposedly it's supposed to be the last part of Disney, I guess, panel.
Oh.
Okay.
But people are still awaiting if they're going to do a Doomsday thing.
Wrapping up the
Oh.
Disney Plus panel. Of course, they've only, Jessica just brought up, they've only covered streaming series on
Right,
Disney Plus.
right.
There's been no mention of Disney theatrical. There's still some speculation on if there will be something about Doomsday, maybe a surprise little thing. We'll see.
We should talk about this. The Russo Brothers announced yesterday that they're going to re-release Avengers Endgame in theaters in September of 2026.
Okay.
I believe the release date is like September.
Roughly 2 months ahead of
September
Doomsday.
25th. 2026. So it's
Almost
about
exactly
2.5
2 months, yeah.
And a lot of people are speculating, what does this mean? Are they going to attach a new post-credit scene? Because essentially the post-credit scenes for Fantastic Four First Steps and for Thunderbolts are scenes that the Russo brothers just shot for Doomsday. Are we going to get a sneak peek scene that's going to feel like a post-credit scene to Avengers Endgame? Avengers Endgame, of course, in 2019 had no post-credit scene, just the sound of Tony Stark hammering. But a theory for you guys. Are we going to see a scene of Robert Downey Jr. hammering, but it's not Tony Stark in the cave, it's Doom welding together his metal mask. And so it reframes what that post-credit audio moment was in 2019 as a proper post-credit scene now
Retcon.
that shows us footage for Doomsday.
Wow.
That's a fun
That'd
idea.
be a fun retcon.
Yeah, a few videos ago, you had a theory that like Tony or Doom would come in at the end of Endgame with Captain America and Peggy like dancing in their house. And I almost wonder, like, would it be that? Like, it picks up right at the end of Endgame.
And then they go into a throuple.
And that begins, you're saying that's like the first scene in Doomsday.
There's a really good video that Eric did about it where you, like, talked about it where it was a theory of, like, guessing what would happen and how, like, Doomsday would start. And it would be, like, with Doom, like, literally, like, plucking Steve out of that scene and being like, you messed up my timeline or
Yes.
whatever. But it's like, I feel like maybe it could even connect to that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
I think
require
the audience
everyone on
would
live
love
streams
that.
who works at New Rockstars to compliment my theories. Kind of like Ted Sarandos.
Yeah, the Ted Sarandos of New Rockstars.
No, thank you. But, I appreciate that. But like, a lot of people are thinking that is like, I think Daniel RPK was even saying that we're going to see a scene that picks up directly with the final moment from Endgame,
Yes.
and whether that's Downey showing up on their front lawn, kicking open the door and saying, "Can I cut in?" or something like that, or just saying like, "You ruined everything by staying here, you dumbass." I don't know, but I feel like that doesn't that feel like the big idea that Stephen McFeely had?
And like, doesn't it feel like it? Yeah, certainly establishing that like Doomsday is a direct sequel to Endgame.
Yeah.
Right? Like there've been a lot of Marvel movies released in between. Those will certainly have an impact as well. But like this is the Avengers franchise, the Avengers sub-franchise within Marvel.
Yeah, because that was the most recent thing. I would love it if like there's a knock on the door and you just see a little muffin basket and it's like, "Welcome to the neighborhood," and then it's just Dr. Doom bringing over a neighborly,
for Steve and Peggy.
Yeah. That was a thing that they used to do back in the old days. That a neighbor would be like, "We put together a little basket for you."
I also think, I mean, how many times has A New Hope been re-released in theaters? Marvel has been surprisingly restrained when it comes to re-releases.
That's true. Probably because they don't want a re-release to overshadow a new release.
Yeah, when you're already putting out 3 movies a year.
Right. There's never a large enough window where they're like, now, put it in now. Like it's always within 3 months of some movie that they've released.
Did you guys see that in 2027 on the 50th anniversary, they're doing a restored version of the original version of the movie, the pre-1997.
I'm a
New
hater
Hope.
on that. I don't like that.
You like the idea?
No,
of
I think you should respect George Lucas's cuts. So
I'm
a hater.
You
I'm a hater.
want them pointing guns at E.T.?
Yeah. No, I just think you know what? I'll even say like you can have McClunky in there. Like you can
the Disney Plus edition.
Yeah. No, I just think like you should respect that he kept working.
Yeah,
We're respecting George Lucas when he was still married in the 70s, not divorcee.
Yeah,
grandpa.
I do like to see. I want to be able to see every version. I want to be able to see the original theatrical version, even if it's problematic. I want it out there somewhere, and then I want like the director's cut. I mean, this is like the Blade Runner 800 versions, right? Like I want to see, well, what was the director's cut of this? But I also want to see the theatrical cut, and then I want to see when people were like, maybe let's take out the guns. And then like 50 years from now, they'll be like, put back in the guns.
That's what people are worried that's going to happen to James Gunn. So they're taking out those guns. Because you're not just taking out James Gunn, you're taking out all of his brothers.
Sean.
It's true.
That he puts his cameos in his movies. Amalache is giving some descriptions that Jessica is sharing with us of Percy Jackson. Here are the scenes. I'm going to quickly read these. Let's see. She's also translating from Portuguese, by the way.
Is season 2
gosh.
book 2? Do we know that? Or is season 2
Yes.
the second half of book 1? It's book 2. Okay, great.
And it's dropping in the next 2 weeks on Disney Plus,
Yeah.
I believe. Amaleche says, Annabeth says that she had a dream about Camp Half-Blood being in trouble while Percy dreamed about Grover. They get into the taxi of the Grey Sisters, and they head to the camp. The sisters give a hint about Grover's whereabouts in a series of cryptic numbers, 30, 31, 75, 12. The second scene we saw shows Percy and Grover communicating in a dream world, a telepathic bond that, according to Grover, is only shared by best friends. Grover gives more details about the situation he's in and says Percy must search for the Golden Fleece. Walker revealed to the public that this scene was one of the last ones filmed for season 2. And then goes on. A third scene. Percy, Annabeth, and Tyson investigate an attack on the camp, but she quickly identifies that it's all a distraction for something that Luke is planning. They run into Talia's tree and catch Luke with the dagger buried in his trunk. The demigod flees before the heroes can reach him, saying, "I see you out there." On stage, after the scene, Charlie defends Luke, saying he's not trying to destroy the world. He's trying to fix it. I know he does it in a crooked way sometimes, but he's doing it for a cause, not for himself. The goal with this season is for people to sympathize more with Luke than they expect. Zach, I know you have a lot of thoughts about this.
Yeah.
I just recently read this book, and it's a banger. All these books are a banger. I started reading like all of them like before season 1 came out. They're great, you guys. They're great. Read them.
Will New Rockstars be covering Percy Jackson on this?
Well, we'd have to bring Evan back.
Yeah.
Because Evan was a real Percy Jackson.
Evan! and he's just
Evan rides in on a wave with his trident.
Currently crashing at a company's karaoke party.
Which Cyclops in the next 12 months will have a bigger cultural impact? The one in Percy Jackson or the one in the Odyssey?
Or
James Marsden.
Yeah.
We got 3. It's a 3 Cyclops 12 months.
If you throw the animated version of X-Men 97 in there, 4 Cyclops.
4 Cyclops.
Oh my God. Yeah, guys, we're going to have a new season of X-Men 97 in the new year.
Yeah.
A new season of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
Now we were hoping, as part of this Disney Plus presentation, though it was not announced, but we were wishful, that there would be some mention of Marvel animation.
Mm-hmm.
But there has been none. Right, we are getting what we think are going to be 2 Disney, Marvel animated shows in 2026. Why do you think they're not talking about those?
Because Brad Winderbaum doesn't know or care about animation. I don't know. He could have done this at well, they did release. They did actually. I should be fair to Brad. They did talk about X-Men 97 at New York Comic Con. They just didn't release it publicly. We got some information. We saw some art. There was a trailer that you could see a blurry version of that we broke down on the New Rockstars channel. It's just typically when it comes to Disney Plus and these Marvel animated shows, they wait until like 6 weeks out.
Yeah.
And since that's not coming until the summer, so we probably won't hear anything until April or May.
I do wish they had, but like the budget of Percy Jackson is way bigger than animated shows notoriously have very small budgets. So like Percy Jackson, they're probably like, we got to make our money back on all these tridents.
Yeah. I don't know if New Rockstars will be able to cover it just because it's dropping like the same time as when we're going to be covering Avatar, Fire and Ash, and right when we're breaking for the holidays. We're going to be trying to cover Stranger Things during that time, Fallout during that time. We're going to be trying to cover any like big trailers that drop. But I'm not opposed to covering this title. It's just like we do have to pick our battles, and that's one that like maybe we should pick that battle and fight it. So to be determined if we will or not. Yes. Asking questions, anything Supergirl related? Not yet from this panel, but they did have an activation at CCXP, and there's like some video footage. You can see Millie Alcock giving a message to fans.
Did you? So like a lot of the kind of signage and some of the promotion around Supergirl has been Supergirl Look Out. Is that
instead of Look Up?
Yes.
Look Out has been kind of when they released that art.
Now, do you think that is that the official like title, or that's just kind of like what they're going with for some of this like the posters?
Yeah, I think it's not an official title. I think it's an answer to like the famous Superman, like look up in the sky. I think it's like, this ain't your daddy Superman.
It's the Look Out is the equivalent of In Space Nobody Can Hear You Scream. Okay, got it. But it's not like the official title. Got it.
Yeah. So there will be information about Prime Video's plans for The Boys Season 5 and everything that they're doing in The Boys universe. We might get some information about the new Vought spinoff series. But The Boys Season 5 is expected to come sometime in June. That tends to be the window when The Boys drops. That panel begins at 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern time. But yeah, New Rockstars, of course, will be covering that as well. When the trailer drops, hopefully we'll be able to get to a trailer breakdown of that this week. But we'll see. We're very, very excited for that show. I mean, that's been huge for us.
Also, as part of the Prime Video panel, we're expecting maybe some more discussion of Spider Noir.
Yeah.
So this is an insane show. We got some news about that this week, that Nicolas Cage is not playing exactly the same Peter Parker from that universe, from the animated Spider-Verse film. Even though the character's appearance is exactly a live-action version of that, he's playing a Ben Reilly from either another universe or from that universe. Now, Ben Reilly is the Clone Saga Spider-Man that Andy Samberg voiced in the 2023 Across the Spider-Verse, the real moody grunge one. I don't know why they're doing that. That's so weird to me. But even this show, I don't even know where we'll be able to watch it. It's going to be on MGM Plus for a certain amount of time first, and then sometime later.
MGM Plus.
Yeah, anybody subscribe to MGM Plus? Any from
I said a couple years ago, I got a free trial for a week to watch Bodies.
Okay.
And then I canceled.
You know what? I do really like From. I really like From, but they have ultimately like put that on Amazon after a while.
But that's part of the plan with Spider Noir. We don't know the exact timelines, but supposedly the episodes will premiere on MGM Plus, and then at some point will move to Prime Video.
Okay.
We'll see. That will be complicated for us as to when we cover that show. Do we cover it on the MGM Plus date or on the Prime date or whatever? Let us know in the chat. Are you an MGM Plus head? What are your other favorite shows on MGM Plus? I think, don't they have a gangster show there? Like, is that Mobland? Is that MGM Plus?
That's not Mayor of Kingstown or something like that.
That's Paramount Plus, I think, right?
Oh.
Yeah. As people who cover content for a living,
there's too much of it.
We can name exactly one MGM Plus show.
Yeah, we had a big meeting at New Rockstars this week to kind of talk about just their IP calendar of everything that's coming out. And in 2025, by comparison, 2025 was like a light streaming release year. This next year, it's almost going to be like a sequel to 2024 in terms of which shows are dropping around the same time. Yeah. It is wild to just look ahead at the IP. And in just the month of January, we're going to see a new season of The Pit. Fallout is going to be continuing. A Night of the Seven Kingdoms is going to be happening. And then Wonder Man's going to drop at the end of that month. A lot of these episodes are going to be continuing throughout February. I assume either Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man or Invincible is going to be dropping around then too.
We're just going to have physical breakdowns here at New Rockstars to try and cover everything for you vultures.
Yeah. March, we have Daredevil Born Again Season 2. X-Men 97 will be coming in June. It's just going to be a lot.
A lot of our particular brand of fun.
Yeah. I mean, we'll be eating good, as the kids say. Did you see the news that John Barenthal, I believe it's CCXP, or maybe it was doing some other press, actually he might have been at a different convention, said that the Punisher special presentation will be dropping around the time of the release of Spider-Man Brand New Day.
Interesting.
We had previously heard it would be dropping around the release of Daredevil Born Again Season 2.
Oh, but they want to capitalize on that, him
appearing, that also makes me think, do the events of the Punisher special presentation lead right into the Punisher in Brand New Day?
Yeah, it would make sense. You can't start like in Spider-Man if he ends the season of whatever, like in Spain or something. He can't be like, here I am on the streets of New York. Like you kind of do have to plan those out together to be like, here's where he ended. And now he's either partnering up with or kicking Spider-Man's ass.
Some breaking news from the floor of CCXP. There will be a partnership between Percy Jackson and Fortnite.
Whoa.
Starting December 9th. In just a few days, players will be able to immerse themselves in the world of Percy Jackson, discovering who their divine parents are, fighting sea monsters, and much, much more. This is exciting.
Yeah, that's fun.
Slack is losing their minds right now. Anton and Jessica are just cheering.
I'm very excited for that. I was going to ask who, at Camp Half-Blood.
Yeah.
Who are our parents?
Yeah.
Because that's always that was a big thing. Is you have to pick your parents.
I know. So. I feel like I'm an Aries girl. I feel like I'm just constantly show me to him.
I always thought I would be an Athena.
I could see that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Zach, do you know what
boys have no idea what we're talking about?
I agree.
Yeah. No, at the camp, they're all kids of
gods.
A god.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a human. That's why they're half-bloods. And so they have the Aries kids are kids who are always ready for a fight, but they're also, the Hephaestus kids are good at metalworking.
It's like Slytherin versus Hufflepuff.
Exactly. You just have to know a little bit about Greek mythology.
Got it. Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
I'd be a child of Poseidon. Like Percy. But my thing is just coming from a Navy family. I feel like I'm a child of the sea.
There you go. And they're rare because he wasn't supposed to be boning, but he boned on The Secret.
Yeah.
So there is more information that we're expecting from CCXP today, specifically from the boys, as we said. Mm-hmm. There was a little clip shown for some of these things that we've talked about. But that may be the most of the CCXP news. How are you guys feeling? Do you want to get back into the debate over Netflix and whatever?
Well, what are the comments saying? Are they...
Let's see.
Let's go to the chat.
Put in the comments who Zach's parentage is at Camp Half-Blood.
One super chat says, some ordinary gooners. That's their name. They say this is good for originals like Raised by Wolves, which were canceled and pulled from streaming to prevent paying royalties, as well as Westworld. I think you're talking about the Netflix Warner Brothers deal.
Also not true. That's not true.
Well, yeah, just if like Netflix were to buy Warner Brothers, is that even like a confirmation like we would get more?
No, they're not going to uncancel shows, and like they're not going to uncancel shows, and they're also not probably going to greenlight more sort of like indie shows. But like you know, you have to like if you're saying like, oh well, this is good because you can now pay creators less, is essentially what this is saying. They don't cancel a show because they don't want to pay like royalties and they don't want to pay residuals. Like that's not the reason. That might be why they say they're going to cancel it. But no show is ever canceled because they're like, yeah, let's just cancel it so we don't have to pay royalties. Like Amazon has freaking Lord of the Rings. They're paying royalties out the wazoo. So like that's not a sorry Gooner. It's not a good argument.
Yeah, in the same way that I don't expect Netflix to resurrect the Snyderverse. Like, I don't think they're gonna resurrect things like Westworld. Like, it's just like,
and they're not gonna not cancel, because I think the argument is less like, well, they're gonna revive shows. It's like they'll be less likely to cancel shows. But Netflix is notorious for canceling things after 3 seasons because they don't want to like then sort of up the pay after that. So it's not going to lead to more seasons.
And again, like, you know, the current David Zaslav tenure at Warner Brothers has, you know, some of the low points have been like the Batgirl saga, right? Like they do not have a great recent track record or like the multiple Looney Tunes projects.
Which, by the way, he was doing that to prep Warner Brothers for a sale. So like that is why, like specifically this sale is why he was canceling things or shelving things or taking tax write-offs, because he had to get things ready for a sale. So if this sale was never on the table, that never would have happened.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I say, like, Zaslav has been planning to do this for years. And he is the single person who will profit the most from this deal. He can make over $100 million from this deal. I do think a lot of people are worried about the status of the DCU shows. Peacemaker season 2 already is not going to set up a 3rd season. The Penguin was just announced to have a season 2. And I think that's more of just like Warner Brothers right now in this interim period signaling confidence in the Batman Part 2 and then wanting a companion show to go along with that. And I think Netflix would support that. I would imagine the budget for the Penguin series isn't that high. James Gunn's other shows have been kind of like up in the air anyway, even before Warner Brothers announced his sale. And I think he was just kind of focusing on one project at a time. The Booster Gold series, we haven't really heard much about. We know that there's going to be this Tom King Dr. Fate show, or am I getting that wrong? No, there's like another show that was in the works. So I just don't think like this changes too much. Like
especially not anytime soon will this change anything. I will say, like, every time there is a merger, and this is very inside baseball, they will fire people who have redundant roles at both companies. So an exec at if there's 10 execs at Netflix and 10 execs at Warner Brothers, this new company isn't going to need 20 execs. So they'll fire 10 execs. And that usually does not lead to good buying conditions, because the execs that remain are so terrified of losing their jobs that they are much less likely to greenlight anything. So just from a standpoint of once they merge and they fire half of the teams, it's going to be really hard to sell anything to those. As someone who like had pitched something to Warner Brothers during one of these, right before one of these mergers, and then had it immediately sort of killed when the execs that I pitched to got fired. It's never good, like, creatively for greenlighting things. But since DC is one of their larger, like the DC shows are one of their larger properties, that would seem like a sure thing to executives. So they might be like, all right, yeah, let's greenlight this, and then put all our other meetings on hold.
There's a strong argument to be made that one of the top reasons Netflix is doing this is, despite all their success, like, they are not rich with IP, right? Like they're the especially beyond shows, they've been able to develop kind of A-tier shows like Squid Game and Stranger Things and Bridgerton, right? But like film franchise, right? Like by far, like their most watched films either are not kind of successfully launched into franchises, or they are licensed from other studios.
You're not rewatching Hot Frosty every year?
No. And like, again, you know, they've got the Extraction series, and like a ton of people watch The Electric State, besides that being a terrible movie, right?
Electric State catching strays.
Yes, I will continue to shoot strays. And The Gray Man, god awful. But by acquiring this, right, there are like really important franchises at Warner Brothers that Netflix thinks they will be able to exploit. And I use that in a non-negative way, right? Like in ways that maybe even Warner Brothers previously could not.
And I think when Netflix partners with a TV showrunner, often you do get really good results. I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh, everything Netflix is trash." I mean, look at Queen's Gambit, Mindhunter. The first 2 seasons, incredible. Some of the earlier seasons of House of Cards, Orange is the New Black, Stranger Things,
Baby Reindeer,
Ozark,
Adolescence.
Baby Reindeer, Adolescence,
Outer Banks.
Yeah, all of these shows. So like some of the best TV programming coming out of Netflix, I don't think that's the issue. The issue is they often don't market their stuff, and if it doesn't catch on, they don't give it like a 3rd season when they really should.
Right.
BoJack Horseman, incredible writers. Allison, shout out. But I do think that there are some issues with the films. I don't know if that's Netflix's problem. I think it's like a budget limitation. I think it's trusting the Russos in The Electric State a bit too much. But then something like, Frankenstein, good movie.
Yeah.
You have K-pop Demon Hunter was something that they acquired. It wasn't, they got the distribution for it, but they didn't end that one. But they will the next one.
Like one of the things that they do well is sort of lower mid-budget things. So they do a lot of Christmas originals, which I realize is like a very, very niche thing. Like there used to be sort of like Hallmark would do Christmas originals. And Netflix has built up a sort of like lower mid-budget holiday series thing with like a Christmas Prince and Hot Frosty. And I know that's not our audience at all, but those all have sort of like smaller to mid budgets. And then usually like 1 star, like Hot Frosty has Lacey Chabert. Lindsay Lohan has been in a lot of those. So Netflix does like that sort of, but yeah, anytime they sort of have a big budget thing, or a bigger budget thing like The Electric State or like Gray Man, they haven't seemed to be able to like really like land that plane.
Yeah. And so maybe they understand, like they feel like they can better distribute things, but I think they do have good taste at Netflix. I think like seeing the promise in something like K-pop Demon Hunters means that someone knows what they're doing when it comes to film.
Listen, the execs at Netflix are a delight. It is the owners of Netflix and the shareholders who are not quite a delight, but the executives.
If you own stock in Netflix, Gina's coming for you.
I have a S&P 500 index fund. I think Netflix is in there. Am I the bad guy?
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
You're part of the problem, Zach.
Yes.
No, but that is like, it's the existence of disruptors, and it's really the mindset behind this kind of like tech attitude. And to be clear, Netflix isn't singular in this regard. The Ellisons have this same kind of evil coursing through their veins. And so does Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk and all these other people.
Yes, because they're not people who love movies. They are people who
period.
love
They're not
money.
People.
That is true. Yeah. That's true. There's a difference between and again, like not to hit this too hard in the head, but like there was a period of time where people who got into movies were like, oh my God, I love movies. It would be cool to be able to make some money, but really, I love movies. And now it's people that are like, God, I love money. What don't I own?
I would say, Gulf and Western used to own a studio. Westinghouse owned a studio. GE owned a studio. There's a long and rich history of non-creative corporate stooges.
Those are corporations that own them, but the people that were in charge of them were people that were like, Bob Shea and New Line Cinema who owned it. But like, and back in the day, again, like I think I brought this up on the break room before, but like United Artists was formed because like a group of artists were like, hey, it would be really cool to own our own studio. Like that's how it was formed. That's not saying that like
they ran that studio into the ground.
Right. So did GE. GE wasn't any better.
Yeah.
Which is sort of a natural progression of like, businesses. There's a whole South Park episode about this where the local mom and pop is fighting against Walmart. And then at the end of the episode, the local mom and pop shop becomes Walmart because they franchise up. Yes. And then they burn down that original mom and pop.
I was just saying, like, one thing we haven't mentioned in our ongoing Netflix, Warner Brothers argument, of which I've been winning, is if the model is deeply flawed, if they screw it up, if they mess up Warner Brothers, if it's a net negative, what a great opportunity that is for Universal, for Disney, for Sony.
We'll all be dead by then.
For
Zach.
Neon, for A24, right? Like A24 is releasing an Elden Ring movie, right? They're making $100 million action films now, right? Like it's only to say, like, if they are wrong, if they screw it up, if they bet wrong against theatrical or combination of pricing or whatever, right? There are other people that could take advantage of that mistake and could thrive, right? Like Universal, arguably, over the last like 3 years, has, especially since like post Endgame, Universal has been doing the best of all the studios, right? Like they have found this window where they release films theatrically and then go to VOD. Supposedly, like Wicked made like $100 million on VOD while it was still in theaters. You know what I mean? Like the Super Mario franchise, right? Like say what you will about the most recent Jurassic film, but they've been able to keep that franchise alive, right? Like they again, if Netflix is wrong and they do some kind of like harm to their studios or their brand or their releases, right? Then that could create opportunities for these other studios.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that sort of the one thing that might come out of this is that if enough creatives say, well, we don't really want to work with Netflix, that is good for the other studios. Like the loss of the Duffer Brothers was the gain of, where'd they go? Paramount. Yeah, like
we're the Ellisons now.
Yeah, right. I mean, truly, the answer is that there should be no billionaires, and their money should be given to make the world better instead of buy their.
But I'm a billionaire, Gina. You don't like me?
No, my concern is that there are still enough creators. If Fincher is still wanting to make his movies with Netflix, I just think like enough of these directors aren't sacred about big screen.
Yeah, there will always be people making, and I will say, like, there's a huge issue in the television model right now, which is that people are like writers and directors who are not famous are washing out before they can get to be showrunners or directors of their own shows and movies. And so what ends up happening is that the sort of older generation never can get replaced, which is a big problem. So if it breaks, it might take an extra 20 years to fix it until it gets back to whatever like feasible model it was, which sucks, because then in that meantime, you're sort of losing out on all of those. I mean, all of these sort of like legacy creators, like the Steven Spielbergs, the Chris Columbuses, hell, throw Jerry Bruckheimer in there, sure. They started out as like film fans and film students who studied all of this and made kind of like some crappy independent films or crappy low budget films, and then sort of hit on things and got better and better and better and better and better. But right now, you're not going to have that next generation of Guillermo del Toro's and Steven Spielberg's and all of these, because those people can't afford this career anymore.
Or they're coming up on YouTube, right? The Raka brothers have made 2 of the best horror movies of the last 3 years, right? Like
Markiplier's making a movie. You have Chris Stuckman making Shelby Oaks. Like, yeah, I that might be happening. I also just feel like, I guess my concern is that, theatrical distribution is going to go the way of Broadway or live events, and where you have to live in certain cities to go see a movie on a big screen.
Or like I was talking recently, bowling alleys and roller skating rinks. Or video arcades, right? And
I've done all 3 of those things recently.
Yes, and they exist.
We'll still go.
They do not exist in the number that they did.
Right.
Say, in
and I just feel like, growing up in the 90s, that like going to the movie theater on the weekend was such a big part of our routine. It was such a big part of our world, and it wasn't that expensive, and you could go out to eat right next to it. And I just don't think, it wasn't just COVID. I think we're already seeing a transformation of that with things like Netflix. And if we could go back and warn the people of 2012 what would happen, I wish we could do that. But realistically, I mean, having a kid, like my wife and I love going to the movie theaters. That was such a huge part. And we still do. It's part of my job. And it's part of her job as well, from where she used to work. just having a kid, like we really can't. Like we can't afford a babysitter to go see a movie, you know? Like it's just not realistic for us.
Just give the kid a bottle of cough syrup and call it a night.
We're bringing him next time. He's 2. He screams every 12 seconds, but like we're bringing him to the next one. Like, so that's just, I think, the case for a lot of people that I know, whether or not they have kids. Yeah. Like it's just like already been a habitual change that you could argue Netflix caused, or they recognize that cultural habit already just.
Also, how much of that would have happened with COVID? Also,
definitely
right?
COVID expedited.
Yeah, I mean, I think the question is like, do people see a problem and take advantage of it, or do people see a problem and try and fix it? And Netflix definitely took advantage of it. And I think like Abby's statement from earlier that we're sort of inching closer to a universe of Alien Earth, where it's just sort of like joyless and everyone just works and then goes home.
The world's gonna be poorly written? Dialogue's gonna get weird? What?
But the events that happen in space, very well written.
Yeah. But also like any type of dystopian future, right? Like there's that episode of Black Mirror where they have that like weird bear become president and like.
You could argue we're in a dystopian present.
Well, you know what they did in Alien Earth is they watched Ice Age 4.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
What did they watch it on though? I guess is
the
like,
backside of some projector.
Yeah, but like what stream was it on the Wayland streaming service?
It was some bootleg cam.
Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Wayland, Yutani, AOL, Yahoo.
They torrented it from the Pirate Bay based in Thailand.
I is Cat Kit sending in a super chat. The North remembers Netflix canning Sense8. Didn't even get a season 3 because they tried to force the Wachowski siblings to make it the next Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The road of content is littered with Netflix failures.
Listen, I had a friend who had an entire show that was already made at Netflix, and they canceled it before it aired. So like Netflix is not a boon for creators to like finally get their stuff made.
Though you could argue, and I found myself in the role repeatedly of being the Netflix defender, which again is not my normal role here, but like. Some of that is they've only been making original content for like less than a dozen years, right? And in that time, they have had to, also they were pioneers in the streaming space, right? In every way of like releasing original streaming content, films, stuff like that. They've had to learn a lot of lessons at a really fast pace. Like Warner Brothers is 100 years old. They've had 100 years to figure out a lot of stuff. They still haven't figured out a lot of stuff, right? And so like, you can't even like Sense8, and I totally understand they've canceled a lot of shows I loved as well, or cut them too short or mishandled them.
Carbon.
Yes, but like you also have to give them credit. Like, okay, they've learned lessons from that maybe they can apply going forward if we want to give them any benefit of the doubt. You know, as they've had to spin up this entire business model relatively quickly.
To me, it's all about their partnerships and how much faith they place in their creatives. And I will say they've placed a lot of faith in creatives like. Ryan Johnson, Michael Schur, Tina Fey, everybody who's behind Ozark, an amazing team behind Ozark that they did let run for what I thought was a healthy run. And hopefully they place that same faith in James Gunn and Peter Safran. And if they can, and if like enough loud voices, powerful voices demand them to respect to the creators, I think there is a upside here. There is a best case scenario where they can at least do a better job than the past 3 to 5 years of Warner Brothers have done in distributing this content. But the reality is it's going to cost all of us more. It's going to cost all of us more, and it's going to be harder to see some of this stuff in theaters if we want to.
And also,
can't see them in the first 3 weeks.
The other side of that is it's going to cost all of us more, and that money is not going to be going to the people who create the shows. That money is going to be going to the people who run the company.
Yeah, which is, hopefully the unions can figure that shit out. And we'll see. I mean, there's a lot we could get into of the timing of the strikes that happened in 2023 and the next round of negotiation, how it's gonna be tough, I feel like, to prioritize all these things that need to be prioritized. And I understand how hard this is. And my hope is that, like, James Gunn, as head of the studio, is partnering with the type of creatives who are working on these other titles to make sure they're getting the good deals, good long episode orders, big writers' rooms to write these shows, so that hopefully in projects made by James Gunn's DCU can have the type of things that we're seeing from The Pit and that John Wells is able to get at The Pit, and that Fogelman is able to get for Paradise. It's a Dan Fogelman run, right?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Can we do a quick round of hypothetical crossovers between Netflix and HBO or Warner Brothers? You know, something like a Love is Blind meets...
1,000-Pound Sisters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Discovery. They're not buying
Discovery is not
Discovery,
included.
right?
I was thinking Nobody Wants This, Creature Commandos.
Ah, there you go. Yeah. Sopranos and Love on the Spectrum.
Oh, all right.
Will the Wise goes to Hogwarts?
Oh,
Oh,
okay. That's actually an
That
on-brand
makes
one.
sense.
That's not just a bit.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
One last Netflix thing we'll talk about that we're seeing at CCXP. Thanks, Jessica, for doing all this kind of coverage for us. IMAX CEO walked out on stage, and this is IMAX, the guy who's all about putting this out on big screens. Greta Gerwig is producing the Chronicles of Narnia series for Netflix. And they're trying to reassure people that, like, some of these Netflix titles, like Greta Gerwig's Magician's Nephew, will have IMAX releases. So they're trying to walk both paths right now. But what they're saying is that, according to the IMAX CEO, Rich Gelfand, he's shared new details about Greta Gerwig's adaptation of The Magician's Nephew. That's going to be the first of this series, not The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which is not the first book, I believe, right? Magician's Nephew
correct.
is number 1. And it's going to be released next year, sometime in 2026. Actually, I think we do have a release date. Isn't that November 2026?
I think that's right.
December. And it's going to have a rock-influenced soundtrack. Pink Floyd and The Doors are going to be in that soundtrack. Mark Ronson's going to be composing the rest of the score.
Okay.
That sounds fun. You guys excited for that?
Yeah, I love The Magician's Nephew and I love Greta Gerwig. So
Her follow-up to Barbie.
yeah.
Yes.
So ranking the Chronicles of Narnia, we got 7 books.
Yeah.
What's at the? Can we rank them real quick? Our personal rankings, or do we even remember what all the 7 books are?
Yeah. I reread them frequently because there's some great storytelling in there. You got the Chronicles of Narnia, The Boy and His Horse. You got and the Chronicles of Narnia is the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Magician's Nephew, Boy and His Horse. The Caspian.
Prince Caspian. Voyage of the Dawn Treader.
Yeah, Voyage. I do love that Voyage of the Dawn Treader. That might be like movie wise the one that I want to see the most because it's just it's like a pirate adventure going to different lands.
The Last Battle, though.
It's also like the most like religiously ham-fisted one where they're like and then a donkey dressed as a monkey misled them, and it's like, oh, okay, all right, we get what you're doing here, C.S. Lewis.
Wait, what is he doing there?
So C.S. Lewis.
I know it's all like Christianity metaphor, but like, how's a donkey dressed like a monkey?
That is a commentary on basically like evolution and Darwinism. So C.S. Lewis famously got into a fight with his fellow author who ultimately went on to write The Golden Compass, which is an anti-religion book. And each of them said, like, I can write a better book than you. C.S. Lewis said, I could write a better book centering on religion than you can. And what's the Golden Compass?
Pullman.
Thank you. Philip Pullman said, I can write a better book series than you focused on not religion. And by the way, Golden Compass, better written series, not quite as famous. So ultimately, C.S. Lewis won that. But there's only 3 Golden Compasses, and you compare that to. But yeah, like basically that last book is like, like a donkey dresses up as Aslan and like misleads them into thinking. So they follow a false idol, and then there's like a monkey that's behind all of this. So it's like, oh, evolution, and people are doing. And then there's this like group of dwarves that don't believe that, like that. It's a very where before it was all metaphor, now it's like, let's just drop the metaphor. I'm tired.
So does that mean now that Netflix is acquiring Warner Brothers, his Dark Materials could get resurrected?
I mean,
Probably
I would love to see it. I've yet to see a really solid adaptation of that.
Collider's reporting, they're saying that you do see Matthew Lillard in the footage for Daredevil Born Again Season 2. It was announced. I think Matthew Lillard said he was going to be in the season.
Yes.
We don't know what character he's playing yet.
He's having a hell of a year though, because we at least heard his voice in the trailer for Scream.
Yep.
Yeah. And what did Quentin Tarantino say about Matthew Lillard?
He was like, he's the worst actor I've ever
Paul
seen.
Dano. He said Paul Dano is
about
the
someone else too.
He's always talking
know?
shit about someone. Go look at your feet, sir. Go stare at a woman's feet.
So a recap of what has been reported at CCXP. Well, we started this conversation talking about Netflix's purchase of Warner Brothers and everything that is involved with that. It's still in the regulatory period now, and we'll see if any of the parts of the current administration or their allies in Washington use the weapons of the executive branch to try to stop this from happening in order to hand a win to their brothers at Paramount, Skydance, the Ellisons. But also, it sounds like James Gunn and Peter Safran are going to stay in charge of DC Studios. Ted Sarandos is saying he's going to maintain some theatrical window for all the Warner Brothers releases, but wants to shorten the window so that he can release stuff on Netflix shortly thereafter. But HBO Max and Netflix are going to be separate apps for now if this all goes through. The sale is for around $72 billion, maybe something north of that, but the Discovery channels are not part of that deal. So anything from the Discovery networks are not part of that deal. But released at CCXP, there was some footage shown for Daredevil Born Again Season 2 that includes Matthew Lillard's character and Kristen Ritter as Jessica Jones, but no other further news was revealed there. We don't have a release date for Daredevil Born Again Season 2, but it'll be sometime in March. We know that Wonder Man is releasing at the end of January, and just based off of the amount of time, we have to assume that Wonder Man might be a binge drop, or they might do batch drops, like 3 episodes here, 2 episodes here, 3 episodes there, something like that. But then we also know that there was some footage shown of Wonder Man. It sounds like Simon Williams might already have had his powers because he's pretending to not have powers. A lot of questions we still have about Wonder Man. We also know that Paradise Season 2 is going to be coming February 23rd, I believe, on Hulu. The first 3 episodes are going to be dropping there. Percy Jackson is coming to Disney Plus in just a couple weeks. Season 2 of Percy Jackson, and Percy Jackson is joining Fortnite. That was another big announcement. Fallout Season 2 did show a clip. That's going to be dropping on the first episode of the second season on December 17th on Prime Video. Other things that we learned, The Bear Season 5 is going to be dropping at some point in 2026. We don't know exactly when. Then we also know that Greta Gerwig's The Magician's Nephew, going to be the first of her Chronicles of Narnia series releasing on Netflix, but also it's going to have enough of a theatrical window, maybe a month, where you can watch it on IMAX screens, because it was the IMAX CEO going out there trumpeting that. Do you think he knew of this deal before he was prepping his talking points? Who knows? Those were the big updates that I don't think I skipped anything else. There was some other scene descriptions that we shared earlier in this video of things that were shown for Percy Jackson. But Percy Jackson seems like had the most robust panel. Mm-hmm. We also learned of a Handmaid's Tale sequel series, The Testament, starring Chase Infinity, that's going to be coming in April to Hulu.
Can we real quickly talk about Chase Infinity's name and how she got her name? Her father named her after 2 movies he saw the same summer. Mm-hmm. One of which was one of the Toy Story movies. Okay. And that character's in a catchphrase, to infinity and beyond.
Oh, God. Okay.
And Chase comes from, I believe it's the character that Nicole Kidman plays in
Chase Meridian
in Batman Forever. He saw 2 movies one summer that he really liked, and he's like, I'd like to take one word from each of those movies and make my daughter's name. And you know what? It's a badass name. So to you, Chase Infinity's dad, I salute you, sir.
The most important headline that Jessica is insisting that we talk about coming out of CCXP is there's a Marty Supreme panel, and Timothée Chalamet was there and did the Soulja Boy dance.
Yes, really well, I would say.
Do we have a clip?
I would think
I thought you were just talking about the OG when you were mentioning it earlier.
No, it was Chalamet.
He did it today.
No, he did it in Brazil as part of the...
God.
Is this his thing? Does he frequently do this?
Well, there's a video of him as like a little kid doing it.
Oh.
Yeah, he's been doing it since it was a thing. And then at the Marty Supreme panel, which it's fun that a silly, or like not a silly, but like a weird character study movie from a Safdie brother is getting a panel at a Brazilian Comic-Con. But they also had men with giant orange ping pong ball helmets standing behind him on the panel.
Okay.
Which I appreciate, kind of like Squid Game-esque.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, Marty Supreme is my Avengers Endgame, so I'm extremely happy.
I mean, I love when they do weird crap to promote things.
I mean, here you go. I'm watching it. Oh, we have it up here.
We got it.
Here we go, Brian.
Technology. Brian.
Crank that, Soldier Boy.
We're talking over Soldier Boy. Yep.
Oh my God. Okay.
No, Chalamet, you're your character of that Pete Davidson sketch.
Yes.
Like
I
his
know,
entrance
what?
music.
One of the biggest movie stars in the world. Here he is.
You never loved me, Mom.
I mean, can we see like him and Tom Holland have a dance off? Tom Holland would crush him.
He would. You saw that.
Yeah, of course I've seen it. Now because we mentioned it, everyone
Umbrella.
has to go and watch it. His
Hey.
umbrella dance.
Don't count your chickens, okay? I'm always gonna side with my Kwisatz Haderach, okay?
Oh.
Speaking of which, Dune 3,
He has his Dune 3 hair.
yeah, he's got the shaved head.
And it looks like the release date was moved up from
Yes.
sharing the release date.
Yet to be confirmed by also Warner Brothers releasing Dune 3. We'll see. Supposedly that it was going to release the exact same weekend as Avengers Doomsday. Supposedly it's been moved up 1 month. Will now release in November of 2026, though that is yet to be kind of confirmed by the studio. It's just still a rumor.
Okay.
Coming up ahead on New Rockstars, we're in the midst of our Avatar rewatch series. So if you don't remember what happens in 2009's James Cameron's Avatar, you go watch today's video from this morning. And then we'll have another breakdown coming in a week from now about Avatar: The Way of Water. We'll be breaking down Avatar: Fire and Ash when that drops. We'll also be doing a new Doomsday rewatch series called The Road to Doomsday. So that's going to take the place of Rumor Rundown on our weekly slate, but we'll still be doing Rumor Rundown every now and then. But every Saturday, you'll see a new episode of The Road to Doomsday. And then we'll have... every Saturday, you'll be able to watch a new episode of The Road to Doomsday, which is just... Each episode's going to take a different kind of revisit look at a past Marvel movie or trilogy of Marvel movies that we think will be relevant for going to see Avengers Doomsday. Not just the MCU, but we'll be doing the X-Men trilogy and the Blade trilogy as our first couple episodes. We'll look back at the Ben Affleck Daredevil and the Jennifer Garner Elektra film. We'll look at Ghost Rider. We'll look at Punisher. We'll look at Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We're going to look at all of it. We want this to be the ultimate Marvel rewatch podcast that you can see every week on the New Rockstars channel. And that'll start in January. So keep an eye out for that. Other things that are happening. Oh, if we do have a Doomsday trailer that drops in the next week, we're going to be live streaming here on the New Rockstars channel. If it's really early in the morning, you'll probably just see me over on the blue screen, just kind of answering questions and sharing some theories with you guys. Yeah, as soon as that trailer drops, hopefully by the time you make it to YouTube, your most recommended video will be me over in the corner reacting to it and answering your theories. But that'll be a live stream right here on the New Rockstars channel.
Wait, can I ask Abby what she's got in the editor's pipe right now? What do you got in the editor's pipe, Abby? Abby's editor's corner? Can we make a new segment?
Yes.
Basically whatever's coming out. No, we have like any of the trailer breakdowns. I feel like there's a lot of impending trailers that are like in the ether.
Still
drop at any moment.
Welcome to Derry.
Welcome
2
to
episodes
Derry.
left.
Fallout. It will be starting soon.
What are you most excited to edit?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm excited for maybe some trailer like Supergirl. I'm very excited for Supergirl.
Okay.
If that's dropping.
Yeah.
We're anticipating, hopefully December is rich with theatrical trailers for 2026.
Yeah.
Also, there's also some streaming trailers we're waiting on too.
Historically a good month for trailers.
Yeah. It sounds like we'll see an Odyssey trailer coming in the next couple weeks. And then if you go see the re-release of Sinners or One Battle After Another in IMAX, you'll see like the first 5.5 minutes of Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. So I got my ticket. I'm going to try to go see that. There's hopefully going to be a lot of big news that comes out. And we'll be covering it as best as we can here on the New Rockstars Network. So we really appreciate you guys joining us for today. And we'll be covering more about this big merger between Netflix and Warner Brothers and what it really means for you. But I really, really appreciated having you guys on the show today. Big thanks to Abby Friel.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Thanks to Gina Ippolito.
Yell at me in the chat.
Thanks. Don't yell at anyone ever.
No.
Thanks to Zach Huddleston.
Thank you, Chad, for agreeing with me on everything.
Huge thanks to Jessica Clemens for sharing all the updates as they were dropping about CCXP. A big thanks to Brian Kim for running this show and doing all the prep work on a Saturday for this.
The Broadway theater.
Yes.
Oh.
The orchestra. Yeah, we have an orchestra for every show down here. And we never call
It's
on
just
them.
Brian. He's playing every instrument.
The thing is if we go over 4 hours, they start to play us off. And they're just waiting for that 4 hours. And thanks to Berg and to Patty for being in the chat, for moderating everything and helping us out today with that. We thank all of you for joining us. Everybody who was here for the past 2 hours. We love you guys for joining us here on a Saturday. Whenever big, huge shit is happening, we want to try to be here to answer your questions about it. And thank you all. We hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you in the coming days. Bye, everybody. Bye.